In 1483, after the sudden death of King Edward IV, his two young sons, 12-year-old Edward V and 9-year-old Richard, were sent to the Tower of London to await their coronation. Their uncle, Richard, Duke of Gloucester, took control of the kingdom and later crowned himself King Richard III. Shortly after, the two princes vanished inside the tower. No bodies were ever found. No proof was ever given. 5 centuries later, it remains England's greatest royal mystery. Before dawn, the Tower of London stood silent beside the dark River Thames. Behind its enormous stone walls, 2 young royal brothers had vanished without saying farewell. No body was displayed, no confession was recorded, and no grave was ever confirmed. There were only locked chambers, fading sightings, and a crown taken by another man. This became England's greatest royal mystery, the story of the princes in the Tower. The mystery began in April 1483 with the sudden death of King Edward IV. His eldest son, 12-year-old Edward, legally became the new King Edward V. But the young king was far from London, living peacefully at Ludlow Castle. England expected a magnificent coronation, but powerful relatives began fighting for control. Edward's uncle Richard, Duke of Gloucester, was appointed Lord Protector of the kingdom. Richard publicly promised loyalty before quickly traveling to meet the young king. At Stony Stratford, Edward's carefully planned journey to London suddenly changed direction. Richard arrested the king's Woodville relatives and separated them from young Edward. The frightened boy protested, but his royal escort was unable to protect him. Richard now controlled the king, his journey, and his access to the capital. Edward entered London beneath royal banners, but without the freedom of a monarch. He was taken inside the Tower, officially to await his approaching coronation. In 1483, the Tower was still a royal residence, not simply a prison. At first, Edward's stay inside the Tower appeared traditional rather than threatening. Coins were prepared, royal robes arranged, and the coronation date publicly announced. Meanwhile, Edward's mother, Queen Elizabeth Woodville, feared what might happen next. She fled into sanctuary at Westminster with her younger children and loyal servants. Her youngest son, Richard, Duke of York, remained safely under her protection. But Gloucester demanded that the 9-year-old prince be sent to join his brother. Elizabeth resisted, knowing that surrendering Richard might mean losing him forever. Under enormous political pressure, she finally allowed her young son to leave sanctuary. The younger prince crossed London and entered the heavily guarded gates of the Tower. For a short time, the two frightened brothers were reunited inside the fortress. Witnesses later remembered seeing them playing, walking, and practicing archery together. Then, Edward's coronation was delayed, postponed again, and quietly allowed to disappear. A claim suddenly emerged that Edward IV's marriage to Elizabeth Woodville had been invalid. If this accusation were accepted, both princes would lose their right to the throne. The claim was officially supported, destroying Edward V's legal position almost overnight. The Lord Protector was no longer protecting a king, he was replacing one. On the 6th of July, 1483, Gloucester was crowned King Richard III at Westminster Abbey. Inside the Tower, the two boys became dangerous symbols of another possible future. Their movements became restricted, and they appeared at the windows less frequently. An Italian observer named Dominic Mancini reported that sightings gradually became much rarer. Edward was said to fear death and spend long periods asking God for forgiveness. Whether completely accurate or partly rumor, the account captured the terror surrounding them. By the end of the summer, both princes had completely disappeared from public view. No official announcement explained their removal, illness, escape, imprisonment, or possible death. Across London, people whispered that the young princes had been secretly murdered inside. But whispers were not evidence, and the tower preserved no clear surviving answer. Richard III became the most famous suspect because their disappearance secured his crown. He controlled the tower and faced political danger, while his nephews remained alive. However, having a motive and an opportunity is not the same as having proof. Some historians suspected Henry Stafford, Duke of Buckingham, Richard's powerful former ally. Others questioned John Howard, a nobleman with authority connected to the tower. Later theories also examined supporters of Henry Tudor and his mother, Margaret Beaufort. Every suspect had political interests, but none can be conclusively convicted by history. The surviving evidence remains circumstantial: disappearance, silence, fear, and royal advantage. Decades later, Thomas More described the brothers being smothered while sleeping in their beds. His account named possible killers and described a detailed midnight murder inside the tower. But More wrote many years later, during the rule of the Tudor dynasty. His version may preserve genuine testimony, political propaganda, or a mixture of both. William Shakespeare later transformed Richard III into England's most unforgettable royal villain. His famous play made the prince's murder feel certain, even when history remained uncertain. Almost 2 centuries passed before the tower produced another deeply disturbing possible clue. In 1674, workmen discovered 2 small skeletons beneath the staircase in the White Tower. Fragments of cloth and velvet were reportedly found lying beside the mysterious remains. King Charles II ordered the bones to be buried with honor in Westminster Abbey. In 1933, specialists examined the remains and concluded that they belonged to children. Their estimated ages appeared possible, but their identities were never scientifically established. No modern scientific test has confirmed that the bones belonged to Edward and Richard, and bones alone could never identify their killer, even if murder truly occurred. Years later, a pretender named Perkin Warbeck claimed he was the escaped younger prince. Several powerful Europeans believed him, but his story also ended without decisive proof. More than 5 centuries later, every possible answer still creates another unanswered question. The tower keeps its silence, and the lost princes remain England's greatest royal mystery. In 1483, after the sudden death of King Edward IV, his 2 young sons, 12-year-old Edward V and 9-year-old Richard, were sent to the Tower of London to await their coronation. Their uncle, Richard, Duke of Gloucester, took control of the kingdom and later crowned himself King Richard III. Shortly after, the 2 princes vanished inside the tower. No bodies were ever found. No proof was ever given. 5 centuries later, it remains England's greatest royal mystery.